Hi, I'm Mark Pete Sakella and welcome to the November edition of What You Need to Know with Dr. Mark. Now, what I want to talk about today is a real interesting case called Bosnich case, and hopefully I've said that correctly. The High Court in that case held that the taxpayer, a husband, did not have a beneficial interest in property that was held in his wife's name, even though the funds were borrowed jointly to purchase that house. Quite simply, the background went something like this. In 2006, husband and wife purchased a property in WA for $4.5 million. They used the funds in a joint loan account to fund the deposit, and the balance of the purchase price was funded by two loans taken out in both names. The property, however, was purchased solely in the wife's name. Now, in 2016, the ATO went after some tax debt in relation to the husband of just over $9.3 million. Now, in subsequent enforcement proceedings, the ATO sought declaration that half of the equity in the property actually was beneficially owned by the husband. Now, they relied on the presumption that a person who advances purchase monies for property, which is then held in the name of another person, in this case the wife, intends to have a beneficial interest in the property. Now, listen to this. The primary judge in the case, in the federal court, indicated that that they did not agree with the ATO in relation to that. In the full federal court, that decision was overturned, and they did agree with the ATO. And then we get to the High Court, and the High Court unanimously agreed with the taxpayer and found that the parties, husband and wife, objectively intended for the wife to be the sole beneficial owner of the Dalkeith property, and that the husband was merely facilitating the acquisition. Now, this is a real interesting case because you really need to look at the facts which supported that decision that was made by the High Court. They looked at it and they said, look, in this case, it was registered in her name, it was acquired in her name, it was definitely her property. The facts that supported that conclusion, they looked at the husband and they said, well, he was a sophisticated business person. So when he put the property in her name, he knew the importance of that decision. And also, it was quite often this couple, which are very well known in WA, held a substantial part of their assets separately. That was quite common for them. And there was no suggestion that the husband contracted to purchase the property and to put it in his wife's name for the purposes of avoiding creditors. So, unfortunately, the ATO, they sought to take advantage of the law's presumption, which is known as the presumption of resulting trust. And that's where a person who advances monies for the purchases of a property, which is held in another person's name, that they intend for the beneficial interest in that property to be theirs. Now, that has a couple of exceptions, or a number of exceptions, and particularly exceptions apply where a husband purchases the property in the name of his wife, or alternatively, parents might purchase properties in the name of their children. There is a presumption of advancement. In other words, the presumption that the purchaser intended that the beneficial interest would pass with the legal interest. Now, the ATO said, this is crazy. This is an archaic law and really needs to be overturned. And High Court, you are in the position to do this. Well, in a joint judgment, the High Court disagreed and indicated that any changes in this area of the law should be left to the legislator. They were just not prepared to overturn this aspect of the law. So look, really important, good time to revisit your asset protection positions, particularly if you are a high-risk taxpayer, either in business or with debts, etc. So in order to secure your position, this case really does provide you some interesting information in terms of the way a court is likely to lean in similar scenarios. Look, that's all I intend to say today. Thanks for listening. I know I've gone over my time, but it really is an important case, and especially if you're buying property, looking to fund it, etc. Please pay attention, have a read of it. Any questions, by all means, give me a call. Speak soon.